Alright, it's race week. The Mexico City Grand Prix is on this weekend, and as always, guys, I'm here to preview the event by going through the 5 drivers that you should be paying special attention to. So let's go, guys. Let's have a look. And we're going to start with Carlos Sainz, the winner here from 12 months ago. To date, his final win in Formula 1. And with the form that he had earlier this season in the Williams, it seemed as though it was going to be his final win for a very long time. However, he's looking a lot better on the whole. He is putting in some good performances, of course. That incredible podium in Azerbaijan, that amazing comeback in Singapore, but unfortunately for him, he's going to need to produce a very big comeback this time around, of course, as well, because he has a 5 grid place penalty that's going to be applied to whatever qualifying position he gets for the Mexican Grand Prix. That is, of course, for the incident that involved himself and Kimi Antonelli during the United States Grand Prix last week. I went into more detail as to why he got that penalty in a separate video for you guys earlier this week on Formula Reports. But yeah, I think he's going to have a decent weekend on the whole here. Obviously, he's probably going to end up starting well down the order because of his grid penalty, but Williams are very good in the straight line. This is one of the longest straight lines in Mexico, has one of the longest flat-out zones of the entire year, of course. So I think it's going to do quite well. I think him and Alex Albon are going to get solid points this weekend, but he's definitely one to watch because, of course, he did win here 12 months ago. Next up, let's talk about Sir Lewis Hamilton. This hasn't been the best track for him over the years. Of course, he did win 2 of his world titles here in 2017 and 2018, but his performances overall during those weekends were not the best in terms of the results that he got, but it was enough for him to win the championship in those years. He's not won here in quite some time. He's only won here twice, I do believe, which by his standards is pretty low. Albeit, of course, Ferrari seem to be having a bit of a late season surge right now, and they're really going for that second place in the Constructors' Championship. They're going to face tough opposition, of course, from Max Verstappen Racing, also known as Red Bull Racing, and Mercedes for that second spot, but they do currently sit in third, just a few points behind Mercedes. Mercedes looked off in the USA. Maybe they will pick it up again in Mexico, but I think Hamilton's going to have a good race here. He does seem to really feed off the energy of the crowd. Of course, there is no Mexican driver in the race this time, so we could see a similar kind of crowd effect to what we normally see in Brazil for him. Of course, Brazil not having a Brazilian driver for many, many years, so the home driver effectively became Hamilton, and I'd be surprised to see if he doesn't get a lot of support from the home crowds, but we'll see how that goes, of course. Oscar Piastri is the third driver I am going to talk about. Of course, Oscar Piastri really needs a good weekend. He was incredibly lackluster at the USGP, of course, crashing out at the start of the sprint race. Some people blaming that crash on him, some people not. Personally, for me, it was a pure racing incident, but the end result meant that he didn't finish, and when he did finish in the actual Grand Prix race, he got 5th, and he just wasn't really doing much. He overtook George Russell off the line, and that's kind of all he did, really, to be honest. So he's going to need a much better performance. This should be a track that suits the McLarens, but I've said that for quite a few weekends now. McLaren seeming to fall off the boil, and Piastri's championship lead, whether it be to Lando Norris, his teammate, or to Max Verstappen, really looks under threat. But speaking of Lando Norris, he's going to be the 4th driver I speak about. Of course, number 4 being the 4th driver on this list. He is the more informed McLaren driver right now. I mean, he got 2nd place at the USGP, which honestly is probably as good as he could have got. I don't think anybody was going to beat Max Verstappen that weekend, albeit, of course, Lando Norris had to overcome Charles Leclerc, and Leclerc did make it difficult for him. Had he got past Leclerc earlier, maybe he could have challenged Verstappen, but I think he's going to have a really difficult task this weekend. He did beat Max Verstappen here 12 months ago. He finished in 2nd place in the Grand Prix 12 months ago, despite the argy-bargy, shall we put it, between him and Verstappen. So it wasn't a bad result for him last year at all, and if it wasn't for that, he maybe could have challenged Carlos Sainz for the win, but we'll see what happens this year around. Because to be honest with you, I think Max Verstappen's absolutely going to cakewalk this weekend. He is the most successful driver in the history of the Mexican Grand Prix. If you include the Mexico City and the Mexican Grand Prix, it's the same thing effectively, just a different name. If you combine all those together, he's won here more than any other driver in the past. I think he's won here 3 years in the previous 4, 3 in a row between that time as well. It's just, yeah, he's absolutely unstoppable around here. He's in great form, and that Red Bull car is looking pretty good underneath him as well. Even Yuki Tsunoda's getting some good results in that RB21, so I think both of them are going to be fine. Both of them are going to get... Tsunoda could be an outside bet to get some solid points, but I think Verstappen is the heavy favourite for this weekend's win, and I can't really disagree with that. I can't really disagree with that. But yeah, get your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Who's going to win this weekend? For me, it's going to be Max Verstappen. He might get a Grand Slam. He's been making a habit of that recently. Almost got one for the USGP, just missed out on that fastest lap in the end. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, guys. Plenty of content coming your way to preview the Mexican Grand Prix, and plenty of content I made last year as well. So if you want to search up things like our most Mexican Grand Prix wins, best Mexican drivers, did all of those last year for you guys to check out, so would appreciate some support there. See you soon, guys. Have a great weekend.